Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're flying by the seat of our pants. What's going on, guys? Hey, we're live. We got Jeff in the studio. Again, the Handlebar Maniac. Tony is, what did he say he was doing? Refueling?
Yeah, I don't know. He's lost.
and Ingrid's backing into the dock right now. She's actually back into the dock. So she's going to hop on here in just a minute. She's freaking out. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm late. So we're going to get it rolling. But Tony did bring up in our text chat there that where was it at? In Rochelle, Illinois?
Oh, yeah, about the turkey testicles?
Yeah, I was telling him, I was like, she's in Rochelle. She's got to be to Rochelle. Ingrid does. And I was like, man, I used to haul out of Rochelle for like 4. And Tony's like, oh, yeah, that's where the Turkey Testicle Festival is.
Yeah, and you saw my reply, right? I said at least he got out of the town just in case, just in time, so they didn't take yours, hack yours off.
Oh, his have been gone. Yeah, he's a good husband. He'll be hopping in here in just a second. But yeah, so so me and Ingrid have known each other for a long time, right? And this is something that we've talked about. She called me one time, and we just went into deep, like we talked for like an hour and a half, I think it was, about this. And I've got a lot of experience with it because I've sat in a lot of big boardrooms and talked to customers that were basically saying, hey, if you're going to stay with us, this is what you got to do, tracking wise, visibility wise, accessibility wise, and you got to hit this metric or you can't. And a lot of times it wasn't even like their choice. It was kind of like the executives at the top of some of these big companies, big companies. And so it is what it is. And so, that then I think, the biggest thing, I talked to Ingrid about, she's got some hot takes on it, but is, that's on you to make sure that facilitates, everybody involved. Right. So, obviously then, your apps team, your sales team, your track and trace team, and then your drivers and your carriers. Right. And then of course, then your customers. But I think it's important to understand, because I think it's something that people can get better about.
Sure.
And I think anybody really kind of gets, they don't like what they don't know, right? They don't like, so I've always been big on educating, whether it's drivers, whether it's carriers, but I feel like the more you do that and you educate them on these things, I think the more they buy in too, because they understand like, listen, if I'm going to run for you and I'm going to run this freight, this is just how it is. Right. And, you talk logic with them. You just say, listen, it's not I'd love to not do this, but there's things that, you got to make sure you communicate. People get sloppy and they just want to get it covered, and they don't necessarily think about the drivers and say, hey, listen, if this is what we need and this is what is like required, then I want to make sure, I get with my track and trace team and say, hey, listen, we already got this all set up. I've talked to the driver. Don't call him every 10 minutes. Talk to the driver. Say, hey, when are you going to, when are you going to sleep? When are you going to be asleep? When are you doing this? That way we don't bother you, but let's make sure you're on tracking so we can get those updates through. Have like a timeline almost of what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah, like how many times a day do you want me to ping you?
Right.
Whereabouts,
Well, no. I mean, sometimes it's not up to. Sometimes the pings just have to be, X amount. Yeah. But it's those. The problem that a lot of drivers, and you'll hear from Ingrid, is that they'll be on tracking. They download all these apps, and then they also get these calls at midnight. And it's the track and trace team just doing their job, right? Making sure that they're covering their ass so they're not in trouble. But that they don't have to do that, right? You can actually make their job easier and make sure they don't miss any updates or anything if you have something laid out for them. I used
to something, TJ. One of the most important things that a lot of people forget when they're required to do something and to hit those KPIs is exception reporting. What's acceptable and what's not acceptable. There are the active gods that have to be taken into consideration and also negotiated up front when you're going over the rates and how the operation is going to work and what's going to be acceptable. An accident or act of God, a snowstorm comes out of someplace and you're stuck out there for a couple of days. Those are the acceptable ones. The non-acceptable ones. So that has to be clearly written up front, especially when you're engaged in those type of activities with the KPIs where you want to level up and actually exceed, not meet the KPIs that are required. So, a lot of people fail on that side, that they fail to discuss that and take that into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, and it comes down to, again, it's not just leadership. Well, I mean, it is leadership, because I always think, leadership isn't just the title, isn't just who, what you're doing and where you're at.
Yep.
It's, are you being a leader, of your accounts, the things that you're in charge of, and that's part of it,
Sure.
And those, I used to have SOPs, and if you think about SOPs and you're like, man, they're going to take a while. Okay, the initial SOP when you bring an account on, yes, should take a while.
Yep.
Right, but you should also have forms, we used to use Google Forms a lot, or a way in which you have something simple that before you leave for the day, right? If there's something that's required and needed, you've got it filled out, the information that's needed. That way, your track and trace team or anybody that's following up, your apps team, there used to be little ones, for even like the carousels team. And what you can do is you can even integrate those into your TMS, and I think that's a more efficient way to do it too. That way, you just click on the load and there it is. Also, you look at some of these TMSs now, they've got those, there's Ingrid. They've got those, ability for the customer to actually, have view of the load and you get them a login to your TMS.
Right.
Oh, there she is.
Hey. You made it.
I did. Okay, I'm taking you with me. I do this to you every time we do this, but y'all keep talking. I'll mute myself unless I need to say something, then I'll just interrupt you. Hold on. I'm like a wet rat. Hold on. Hi, y'all.
What's going on, Ingrid?
Lost it.
Okay. You're on.
Hang on. No,
there you go.
Yeah, I'm fixing to slide my tandems up. I'm here unloading cauliflower.
There you go.
I love it.
Show them how it's done there, Ingrid. Show them how it's done.
We're gonna
do that. We're gonna slide some tandems.
Show us
how you slide your tandems.
It just is what it is. Oh man, I told you I look like a wet rat. Well, this place is kind of like tight.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, and these guys were watching me get in the dock, and it was quite funny. So, all right, y'all take a 10-second pause. I'll be right back.
Okay. So I love it. That's what you get from Ingrid right there. You get that energy, and I love anybody that when I call, when I talk to them, they say, "Hang on a second, I can slide my tandems." You know what I mean? Oh, here he is,
Dr. Dre. There he is, in person.
All that, yeah. So there you go, Ingrid. Yeah, Ingrid. So that's why. So there's my partner in crime, one of the other enforcers.
To the trucks.
Matt Dahl today was talking about how somebody was giving him a hard time, and I said, "Hey, if you need me and Tony, we'll hop in the old Peterbilt, be on the guy's doorstep whenever you say." And Tony goes, "I was like, well, we're the enforcers, or maybe we're just nerds." And Tony goes, "To the truck."
I was like, "Nerds to the truck."
Nerds to the truck. Grab the snacks. I told Matt we had room in the sleeper if he wanted 3 logbooks in the truck. We can go anywhere, Tony.
Yeah. All you need is 1.5.
Right, but hey,
I think I take the front seat on that deal.
I'll go sleeper. I don't care.
I was gonna say I'll take the top bunk, man.
Oh my gosh! So we got Ingrid. Tony Ingrid was just flying around. She's flying her tandems right now.
There you go, Anthony. Grab one, my friend.
There she is.
There she is.
We're gonna check and make sure they locked right back in, and then I'm back inside, and I'm all yours. Or who knows, probably hours. We're locked.
And here's a woman driver that's making women look great. It's possible out there. Thank you so much for what you do, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you lots. I'm gonna get in here where I can hear and y'all can hear, and
there you go.
Yeah.
How often do you get compliments from guys that are watching you do your thing? Do they ever come and say anything?
I'm gonna turn my truck off, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. More than you would think. And it's, you hear all these stories about women getting hit on when they're getting fuel and all this stuff. Well, I keep looking in the dad blame mirror trying to figure out what the hell am I doing wrong? Dang, none of them hit on me in my lifetime. Seriously. I have a lot of guys that always say, I'm glad to see you're out here. Thank you for what you do. And the thing is I don't do anything different than the guys do. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
You
expect.
You do it better sometimes, most of the
Yeah,
time.
you do it better. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know about that. But the thing is just how I made it in this industry this far is the fact that I'm out of breath. God, I am getting old. And is that
Not that old.
I didn't try to earn respect from anyone. I knew that I would gain respect as long as I did my part, my share. Didn't mean I couldn't ask for help. It didn't mean that I'm going to have help or whatever because I'm a woman. Sorry. Any girls that think you're as strong as the guys, get over yourself. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And
I will, you find a lot of guys that do, take advantage of that or hit on people, they like the women that are a little bit passive, right? That they can, but with your energy and you flying around and then you doing things that you do, I think it's more of a, those guys probably just stay back in the shadows. They don't even, they're like, I ain't, but the guys that are, respectful and care about it are like, hey, good shit.
Yeah, and it's so neat to work with these guys like that. It's so neat to know that you're one of the guys in a sense, but at the same time, you can be a girly girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that came from how I grew up in the world of a road construction company. And I think that taught me a lot of exactly how I wanted to present myself to people,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, didn't matter who it was. And it also showed me that don't tell me I can't do something.
Right.
Amen.
Because the minute you tell me I can't do something, I mean, I'll be 62 this year. Don't tell me I have to retire and I can't do something, because I'm going to prove somebody wrong. I may not accomplish it, but no. But seriously, there's nothing I can't do. I might have to find a different way to do it. I might have to find a different way.
At your ripe young age, I want to try and frame this without it being insulting to anyone. I don't mean it this way if it comes across that way, so I'm sorry. But do you consider yourself better now than you've ever been as a driver?
No.
Really?
Wow.
No.
And why is that?
Because I find that I get complacent easier. I find that I get lackadaisious easier. I find that I some days think that I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
that comes with
because,
experience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I have to rein myself back in. But the difference in why I said no is this. I recognize these things.
Yep.
I'm able to say, Ingrid, get your head out of your ass and quit thinking that, look at me, you're not doing it right. That's not true. Everybody has their way to do it. And people today are taught totally different than I was taught. And so, yeah, I'm not as good a driver today as I was when I was really on my game. And I was just starving for every little thing I could learn and trying it and practicing it and living it and sleeping it. Today, I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a great point you made. Two things there. Number one is, it's why I still do this podcast. You know what I mean? Like I don't come on here to. I feel like I've got good things to share, right, and good insights and from a lot of experience, right. But I know what you're saying when you say that, like, I don't ever want to stop learning. That's why I love having guests on. That's why I like having people on, like, because like it keeps me hungry, right? Because like I don't do this for any other reason besides the fact that number one, we've got a good group of people. We've got a good network that we work with and everything. But like I learn from them a lot. I even have I think about it from an experience standpoint too. You start to kind of lock yourself in certain ways of doing things, right? That worked for you. Right. And I've got people I've even been connected with on LinkedIn, Matt Dahl, some of these guys that they've only been in the industry 6 months or so. Right. And they're throwing things out that I'm like, well, shit, that does work. And I didn't try that last time. So it's like, you want to think that you're better than what you ever have been, but maybe you're not. And maybe it's because you narrow down what you're not as hungry, not grabbing onto as much as what you should be. And when you do, and you surround yourself with people like that, especially Tony keeps me in check all the time. You know, that's why I surround myself with Tony.
Trying
But-
to
Yeah,
sell
that's a
more
little,
loads.
that's a tough full-time job right there anyway. TJ.
Yeah, it's tough to, and I bless Tony's heart for that, because I'm tough to wrangle in. But
Yes.
yeah, but Tony's also a guy that when I got somebody saying, hey, one of my guys saying, hey, a customer's like, hey, I got somebody with a container on the ground, right? That they need to move from Long Island, New York to Ohio, and they got a quote for $10,000, and that's the cheapest quote they've got. A container literally because they're moving, like they're moving. It's all their stuff in it. It's in their driveway. And I'm like, $10,000, do it cheaper than $10,000. I know, what in the world? And so then I start looking into it. I'm like, well, shit, it's on the ground. So I could call Tony. Tony, how would I get this up? Well, shit, all you need is a flatbed with a winch and maybe some rubber mats. I scrape up the driveway and all. He's like, give me all these things. Like those are things where you have that humble. You have that, but you have those people that you surround yourself with, right? That you can go to, and be humble enough to ask questions still.
Yeah, something that's very important in the industry. The logistics industry is not a stagnant industry. It's dynamic. And if you're not learning something new every single day, you will get lost and quickly. So, that's what's great about the network on LinkedIn, because you've got so many different opinions, so many different options, so many different alternatives to really listen and engage and think about what's being said and take that into consideration instead of the way that you do things like you, Ingrid, or TJ is saying, So it's very important to be engaging for sure.
And that's a great segue into what this whole show's about, right? And that is understanding that, hey, things are changing, right? And they always are. And no matter how good you are, one thing I love about me and Ingrid's conversations, we'll go on the phone and talk for an hour and a half, like I said before, and we talk about it. She's fired up about this topic, right? And I'm talking to her, but she's not willing to listen, right? Because neither am I, right? I'm hearing her side and I'm like, I get it. I absolutely understand it. Here's why though. And so when you explain these things, this is what I talked about, Ingrid, at the beginning of the show, was how important it is for if somebody comes to you like a customer and says, hey, this is what we need, right? It's on you to make sure that every party involved understands that and understands why, right? And then also understanding what it is, not just what your customer needs, but maybe your driver needs. And I talked about if you have to be on tracking or whatever it is, what does your driver need? When are they going to sleep? Do they want check calls? Are they good with just tracking? How do you rate your carriers, right? If I got Ingrid Brown on my TMS, she's a 5-star, and my track and trace team knows then that they don't really have to worry about her much, right? Or vice versa. Like you could do those things, but are you putting the time and effort in? Because those are what sustains. However, that means you got to change maybe your process, right? That means you have to change maybe what you've been doing in the past that works. And it also means, from a broker standpoint, right? It also means that maybe the driver does too. But if you can have those open conversations about it, you both learn a little bit and you both kind of meet a middle ground.
Right. And that's the big thing. And, my biggest thing that have really stuck with me in the last 5, 6, 7 years is whenever you address something or whenever something happens, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you're a driver, if you're a broker, if you're the owner of the trucking company, whatever, is everybody wants to know why. Mm-hmm. Give a reason.
Yes.
Give a reason.
Beautiful.
You can have so many, you can succeed and it goes so much smoother with just a simple, okay, so why are we doing this? Right. Or, hey, this is why I'm asking you to do this. Or, hey, broker, why are we getting this on this detention? Or why are we not doing this on that? Mm-hmm. Let's get this out there, and then everybody's happy, and it rolls so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So much easier.
It comes down to transparency. I think it comes down to total transparency. It's like, don't bullshit the carrier. Don't bullshit the shipper. Tell them straight out what's expected. That's just it. If you try to hide something, it's only going to hurt you. Right. Be forthright. Tell them exactly what they need to know. And that's what's going to build long-term business relationships. That's what's going to make you congruent. And, say what you have to say and say what you don't have to say, but you say it anyway, because you want everybody to be on the same page.
Well,
I'm going to get on the same page really quick. Don't hit my truck when you back in. Okay, we're good.
Amen.
But see, And it's not just transparency. I call it efficiency, right? Because it avoids issues that you have to deal with in the future. And like Jeff just said, when you explain those things and you tell them what the expectations are up front, it gives them a chance, even if they don't like it, it gives them a chance to at least ask questions or maybe have their rebuttals then, right? Yeah. Because if it's afterwards and it's about being paid and then the load's already delivered, what are you going to do? So somebody's in a different position. Explaining things, hey, in the rate con you just got, here's what it says. I know it says this, and this, and you'd be charged this. That's something that goes into every one of these loads for our customer to protect us. Don't worry about this part of it. That part you're fine on. All this is just to make sure that you're not, doing this like something crazy, right? And so you explain it, because what they're going to do is they're going to get that rate con, they're going to read it, and then they're going to freak out. They're going to either call their dispatcher, unless like somebody like Ingrid call you and be like, "What the hell is this all about? Like, there's no way I can do that," right? But you explain that up front, like, "Hey, listen, this is auto-populate for this customer to make sure that we protect ourselves, but just don't, this is you're good,
I just did that this week.
Did you?
Really?
You're
smart. See, what happened is you're smart enough to do that ahead of time. What happened?
I did.
People don't explain it. It comes after the fact, and then now all of a sudden, now you're fighting, and you're not getting paid, or you're cutting rates and stuff, and now it's not understood as well, and people are a little bit more anxious about it.
It's really cool because I think anybody that knows me knows that I love to have the relationship. I love to have that communication, but I like to have that relationship. I will take my friendships that I have built in this industry way ahead of any type of business deal, monetarily gain, anything. I don't care what it is. I don't care. I will go sleep in a cardboard box to keep my friendships before I will. Yeah, those mean the world to me. And
we
it's
have
really
a spare
funny.
bedroom.
We what?
We have a spare bedroom. You don't have to use a box.
I love you.
Me and Tony are getting a truck. We're gonna get a cabin.
Hang on. I'm moving in. I'll be right back. But yeah, it's hey, Grace Sharkey. She said she's watching. Anyway, it does. It goes back to those relationships. It's so cool because I pulled a load for Axel here a couple weeks ago, and maybe a month ago now. And so I couldn't get the macro point. Fork heights wouldn't work, which of course I was standing there going, "Thank you, Lord Jesus, you answered my prayers." Y'all know how I don't like tracking for not reasons of tracking me, but we'll talk about that later. But so I called them and I said, "Hey, I haven't left the shipper yet, and here's what it is." And I had screenshotted everything where it was still trying to download and do its thing, and it would not connect, and it would time out. And he was like, "Let me have one of the sales reps call you." And I'm like, "Perfect, great." Now I did this to the broker because they had called, So in the interim of this, I have, in 2 weeks' time, have found that not only is the sales rep there, Olivia, her family's from where I'm from that knows my family. It goes right back. Now the whole office and I are LinkedIn friends, and Matt calls me and says, or Jay calls and goes, "Yeah, what are you doing today? When are you going to haul another load for me?" And this relationship, these are the reasons I'm still trucking at 61. And this is why I will not leave trucking until I can't do this anymore. And then I'm going to figure out some way. I'm not sure yet how. Anyway, we'll get there later. But I'm saying it's the relationship you have, and that relationship can't just go that way. It has to go even between us drivers.
Right.
The camaraderie and the relationships and friendships in the drivers has changed so dramatically in the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. Started about 20 years ago, but the last 15 major. And I can be an ornery old bitch. I sit and admit that, okay? All day long. But, it's the thing is I was young and I was learning too. And, I don't care if somebody comes out in this industry and they're 55, 60 years old and they're empty nesters, or they've lost their spouse, or they're single or whatever, and they want another career path, and they come out in this industry and they're new. Everybody that comes into this industry deserves a chance. Mm-hmm. And I guess where I'm going with this is, without these relationships, you don't get that fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You lose what the core and the love of this industry is if you don't have these relationships,
Agreed.
especially with other drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And a lot of things too is that when I used to get carriers, and I still do, of course, but I would try to set them up on the same lane, backing into the same customer, because those relationships are so critical. When the supervisor, dock supervisor, know who's coming in, they look forward to that individual. They're starting to build that relationship, which help you and your business to grow even further because they want to see each other. They know how each other works, and it's just like a relief. It's a huge burden off your shoulder, if you will, when you know how they operate. It's less stress. And the ones that are able to do that benefit greatly. They'll make even more business from that customer from doing that.
And I'm going to say something that some people won't agree with. A lot of brokers maybe will get mad at me for this. I don't really care. I never have I? So
They'll get over it.
never.
Come on,
I can promise.
Let's go.
That's what you told me.
Yeah, it's a way to think of the long game, right? So but you got to be sometimes willing to let that person go if they're going to continue to succeed, right? If they're going to keep growing. So say you bring a guy in, just like you said, right? And you got him in the same lane. He's going to the same dock. He makes that relationship.
Yeah.
And he's got to the point where he's, good at what he's doing, and he wants to get set up direct with him, right? And not go through you. Do you help him? Do you facilitate him? Because what do you get from that? Like, what do you gain from that, right? I'll tell you what you gain. You gain somebody like Claudio, right?
There you go.
I'm running a fleet, right? It's all about driver retention. And it's like, hey, we got to keep our drivers. We got to recruit, right? He's coming to me, because he's running freight for me. He's helping me out, man. And just being a champion. And he's like, hey, man, I really need to make more money. And I because I love running. We had, set rates. He said, I want to get my own MC number, And the first thing I did was I said, hey, here's how you do it. I got a guy too. Let's go. Let's do it. Yes, I had to lose him as a driver. But you know what you get? He's still going to go in and out of those shippers and receivers, right? If he makes those relationships, you still got a referral there, right? You got somebody that's telling you, hey, you notice these trailers are now on site? Or, hey, this guy over here, are you struggling to cover these? Because John, I just talked to John over at the docks, and he said he's running in and out of here all the time. He'd love to get with a broker that's good. I gave him your number, right? And so now you've got that relationship because you helped them. You didn't hold them back. You didn't say, you back solicited me. You know what I mean? But if you have a relationship, he most likely would come to you ahead of time and say, hey, I've really got to know this shipper well. He said if I'm set up direct with him, that I could just call him and come in when I need to, which means I could see my kids more or whatever. You know what I mean? Something like that.
How many other owner operators has he sent to you though because of that?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
exactly.
You hit it. You nailed it. That's exactly right.
I get a call from him all the time. He goes, dude, hey, you got lanes going into here? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, I just delivered into this place. He's like, I talked to the guy, he said that this, and this. He's like, give him a call. His name's this, and so he's giving me leads. You know what I mean? Like he's helped me out, from that standpoint. Now I can call and say, hey, Lewis is one of my boys. I know you talked to him, right? Now I got a warm intro rather than a cold. But
so you're selling more than freight, man.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That's it.
I'm going to say this, and they'll probably get a lot of people will not like what I got to say right now, but is if you turn around and you think you're going to blackball somebody or you're going to put somebody under the bus, I'm going to promise you, in this industry, it will bite you in the ass.
Big time.
And it will turn around and you will find that you're going to lose a whole lot more besides just a customer or just a load. Because that's probably not the only time you've done it to this one person. It's probably what you've done to another person. And it's not something that the industry, puts up with. But especially when you start, and we all see it, everybody talks about DAC. Well, everybody remember when DAC got started on, doing drivers, and, companies would join, and it was like, it still is. You have to be a member. And if you're not a member of DAC, you don't get reports. You don't know, you don't see all this crap that somebody wants to put on a driver's record, or, it's kind of like all of the broker boards or whatever, that this carrier sucks, or this carrier's wonderful, or, whatever. And the thing is when you start in with drivers, it's the worst thing you can do because there's 5 million of us. Hello, we all have big mouths. It's like I said about our CB. We love to ratchet, y'all. But I'm serious. I mean, you ride down the road and you get on a Christmas tree, or you get on a phone tree call, and it never fails. You're going to hear every conversation about who got thrown under the bus where. And you stop and you think, do they not understand what that does against them?
Yep.
And I don't know if y'all really most people didn't understand kind of my business plan for Roland B when I was running my own truck up till last year, all these years, because people would see me pulling other people's trailers all the time with my MC number. Well, the thing was I was working for brokers that also had their own, that were carriers. And what I would do is I would do an independent dedicated carrier.
Right.
So it was a built-in device for me. Everything was right there, all the way down to trailer, dispatch, whatever. But the thing was, I had to make sure that I didn't just give them service. I had to go above and beyond, because they didn't let just anybody come in and do that.
Right.
So when you start staying with people for 7 years and 16 years and this kind of thing, you're still on your own. You don't go in and take their freight. You become a supporter, an advocate, a
legitimate
spokesman,
partner.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
You are now a partner, but you're not taking anything away from them. And it worked so good for me being by myself. It was just me, my one truck, and it helped me because, it was just me at home. So all of the honey-do lists, hello, honey. And, it took that off of me. But at the same time, I knew I had good freight because I made sure I chose brokers and carriers that had the prime freight.
Right.
You prove yourself, you can go anywhere you want to go in this industry.
And you specialize.
And if people, diversity.
Yep.
I've hauled cows. I told y'all, I've hauled everything and pretty much owned every trailer there is except a car hauler. And I told y'all, I'm not hauling cars because my butt will not fit out the window on the top deck, and I'm not getting stuck like Winnie the Pooh. My ass is too broad. It has a wide load sign. No, I'm not hauling them.
But
Ingrid,
those relationships too, you don't have to take it. You don't have to take the freight from those guys, because you think about it, like, some people want to live in the moment, like, oh, if I take freight from them or whatever they are, back solicit. It's like, yeah, right then you can. But if you come in and you service the hell out of it and you're running trailers and you're making their service better, they get more from the customer.
Exactly.
Now. Right now, they're a core carrier. They get more from the customer now. And you better believe they're passing it to you because they know you're half the reason.
Exactly. And so many carriers right now, and you guys know it, we all know it. How many carriers have literally given up their MC numbers and gone and leased on somewhere where they could have kept their MC number if they would just stop and think and realize you can do an independent carrier contract, and you can do that on a legal side to where there's absolutely no double brokering. There's absolutely, it's almost trip leasing. Come on. I lived with, let's go to California and go lease, trip lease a load back home. That's how y'all started. But it's sad. It's sad to watch all these guys that have worked their asses off. Busted their ass. And I know how it feels, because even when I thought I was retiring, and I put my MC number dormant, and I was like, I cried like a baby for days. Sometimes I still do. But anyway, I cried like a baby for days. But you look at it, I won't, that's something that I need to work on this. I need to work it. Okay. I gave myself a task. I'm on a task. I'm going to educate two truck owner operators that don't give your MC numbers up. You can still do this.
So
Sorry.
answer this. Are the really good business people who run businessmen, businesswomen who run a business, somebody like Nicole Glenn, or rock star in her own right, is somebody who's a really good business person? Do they make great truck drivers?
No.
So how many really good truck drivers make great business people?
Very few.
it's not always the same, right? And when you're
No.
an owner operator, you got to be good at both. You got to be
Exactly.
really good at both. And that's why
Exactly.
so few of them make it.
Exactly.
Or you have a relationship, like she said, that you
That's
build
it.
with somebody that is good at it, right? So
Yeah.
now you've got a relationship, and yes, it may be a broker, but people talk about like, oh, why do we need brokers? Cut them out. They're the middleman. Okay, they can get you paid faster, right? They can go out. They do more negotiating. They're growing land customers. They got resources. They got all these things that you'd have to have as a business owner that you don't have to because you've got that relationship and you're providing the service. You're doing what you need to do, right? Now, but here's what you do though. And Ingrid, I think you can attest to this. Maybe that's what you do when you start out, but I think after a while you learn it then, right? You learn
Absolutely.
those.
Yeah.
And then you develop yourself. Because I think as an operator, you could come in and you can learn to be an operator right off the bat, right? Say your dad
Right.
was, you did training on it. But I think learning to be an owner, I think takes time. And so
Absolutely.
you can't come in and take it all on at once, I don't feel like. But I think, Lewis talks about it all the time. He first came in, he had a factoring company to help him get rolling and everything. And he learned it and he didn't need him anymore. Right. And so like, are you willing to develop and be patient and keep your MC, like Ingrid said, to get to that point?
Yeah. And this is my big thing. This is huge because this is my biggest learning curve in I'll be 44 years this year, is that if I don't adapt to change, I'm not going to have it. I'm going to have to give up that MC number. I'm going to have to give up being that business owner, that driver, that person that can do it all. Because the thing was back in, we didn't need brokers. There was a time we didn't need brokers.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the first that when brokers really started with us, I was like, no, I'm doing this myself. Leave me alone. I can do this. And when I realized that this is part of the change, it's part of adapting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
ELDs, ELDs are change. If you don't adapt, you're not going to be in this industry long.
Yep.
It's just like, emissions. If you don't adapt, you're not going to be in this industry long. It's just like accepting what brokers can give to you and opening your mind and quit being a hardhead like I am and accepting the fact that things really are better outside of yourself than they are in yourself.
Good segue, and so let's go right. So because you know how it is, you get us we start talking, we're all over the place.
I
Good
know.
stuff, though. Always good stuff. However, what you just said, lead that into give us your take, your insights on. I want to hear, let the world know how you feel about, the tracking, right? You're, and even some of it's just kind of your personal thing, but let's hear it
from the driver's seat.
Okay, we're coming from the driver's seat. All right, and this is coming. Okay, anybody that listens to this, you're gonna have to realize I don't give advice. I don't give opinions. They suck. They stink, and they're not worth 2 cents. If you don't have the experience and you haven't experienced it, I don't want to hear it. Bottom line. So this is coming from my experience. All right, tracking devices. Tracking devices, here's the deal. Why do you need to track me? This phone is going to go with me to go slide my tandems. It's going to go with me to go to the Porta-John over here. It's going to go with me to go in the restaurant. It's going to go with me to go take a shower. Where's your freight? Your freight's still sitting out in the parking lot. Your freight gets stolen. Hello. Who are you monitoring? Who are you tracking? Me. So there's got to be, as we all know, a different reason of why you're tracking me. Because you want to see if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing that you tell me to do, because you might not think I can do my job. Well, if that's the case, then you don't need me to work for you. And if there's that many drivers out of 5 million drivers that are that sucky that they don't do their job, then I don't know how trucking has survived from umpteen decades ago to now. I know, don't do that. And
spotlight.
I'm just kidding. I got soaking wet. Oh, and I got lipstick, so I can't see. But anyway, but seriously, all right, think about it this way. Here's my take on it. And poor TJ had to hear this. I went down. I parked my truck at the house. I went to Georgia, picked up my 6 grandbabies and my 2 daughters, put them in the Expedition and the Denali, and went to Jacksonville Zoo for the weekend.
I gotta pee. Keep going.
So, well, please close the door behind you. Yeah, would you close the door? I don't want to hear it. So we get we go to Top Golf that night and we go eat and my phone keeps going off and I'm like, I don't know who that is. I have no clue who that is. I don't have an idea who that is. And then I start seeing I'm having missed calls from a number I had blocked. Because anybody that knows me already, you keep calling me, checking on me on tracking, I'm going to block you. Sooner or later, you're going to understand. You're not going to call me every 2 hours, every hour. And if I'm on your tracker, then you better do your job and look at your tracker and find out where I'm at. Don't call me and ask me where I'm at. I don't know if you need to see if I'm breathing, if I'm not. I don't know. Just don't do it.
No news is good news, right?
Yeah, exactly. Leave me alone. So we're standing there in the zoo, and I'm like, ugh, and I answer the phone, and this voice goes, "Hey, I'm trying to get Ingrid Brown with Roland B. And listen, hey, I noticed your truck is sitting in Jacksonville, Florida, and you've been there for a couple of days. So I got a really good load, and it's going right back up from where you're from in North Carolina, and I could get you a real good rate on it, and you can load it this afternoon." We're looking at the otters, and I'm wishing at that moment right now I could slam my phone through the glass and let it bury in the water with the otters. And I'm like, excuse me? Where did you? And it hit me. Drivers get told all the time, when you're done with tracking and you hit in and you get disconnected from the load, you're no longer tracked. Well, guess what? Again, day before yesterday, showed them where spinning wouldn't download on 4 kites, and this wasn't the other one. And the guy said, "Well, I already got you." I said, "What do you mean you got me?" He said, "I got you on MacroPoint." I said, "I don't have MacroPoint downloaded. Mine is on never track location." And he said, "Yeah, it's on your phone, 8004. I said, "And nobody believes you. You know, when you're a driver, nobody wants to hear it because you got to have it." But the whole thing came down to, so this is what happens. So when a driver says, "Hey, I know that I'm getting tracked," and you say, "No, you're not. That was disconnected. You're no longer on that board. Nobody's tracking you." Bull. But better yet, let's go back to this. Why do you want to track me? I'll let y'all answer that in a second. The other thing is, why do you not want to know where your freight is? If your freight's not getting there on time, then you can contact me. If your freight is sitting in Timbuktu and it's supposed to be over on BFE, then we got a problem and you can contact me. But if your freight is moving into the location and on the time schedule that it will be delivered, why? I'm 61 years old. I'm not a child. Just stop it. Just stop it. It just gets to the point now with freight cons coming up. If you don't have tracking on, it's a $200 fine. Okay? So I had one on a couple months ago. I ended up having to screenshot the history of it where it pinged me to send proof because they took $200 off the rate because they said they had no proof because they said they didn't see it. Only way that $200 was given back, and this by a big broker. And the only way the $200 was given back was proof that my phone with my number and the date and the time on it had every ping from them on that load number. This is the stuff that somewhere between screwed up and working perfect, there is not a connection.
Yeah.
Because right now we're screwed up.
And the advice I gave, what I told you too, and the advice I give to brokers or to drivers, I'd say, is it's kind of. Did
you wash your hands?
It's kind what?
Did you wash your hands?
Yeah. All right,
okay.
Let's put it up, and then I put it back down.
Okay.
Okay. So, no, because I think one of the big things right now is that they're selling that, right? MacroPoint is Trucker Tools is big on it. This extra. A broker can get like a different, pay a little more to be able to have visibility to where drivers are. Okay. So what I would say is, but is that being communicated to drivers that that's a thing? So I would say, if you're getting any app you download or anything that you get involved in, I would get in there and I'd go through your settings in your phone, B in the app, and then I'd maybe even call over and say, hey, I know this is a thing, right? How do I or ask the broker may know, but how do I get it so that I'm not part of that? because you have to. It's part. You get grandfathered in if you say you're part of Truck Tools, whatever it is, into that. But you can also opt out. And so, but is that something that is being portrayed or being told to drivers? Do drivers know that? And I think that's a key thing to understand as a driver. But it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they don't know. But I think it's important that they do understand it's part of that. Am I echoing?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, geez. All right, go ahead. Ingrid, what's your take?
Yeah, you're accurate.
We lost her. I think her Bluetooth went out, so she's got it.
That's where the problem was.
There's something about StreamYard too. Like when if you change like your audio, it messes you up. Like that was that first episode, right? Like it kept going in and out. But I think so. One thing I talked to her about too. When we had this conversation was I gave her kind of what the expectations are a lot of times from customers, right? But then also what some of these apps are doing nowadays, and how they're set up and how they're doing it. Other advice I'd have for drivers is, and one thing that I think even for brokers is, another piece of advice I'd have is,
blame that on them inside. Sorry.
I know more about MacPoint, so I talk a little more about it. But one thing that they do is that you could get your truck, your truck number added in there to MacPoint, in which when you do that, okay, I know for a fact when you do that, then they're not tracking your phone. They have just your truck number. So the great part is for a broker, the benefit is like I'm adding Ingrid Brown, Roland B Trucking, whatever, to this load. I put her truck number. As soon as I put her truck number in, boom, she's pinging. Already in the load in the TMS, right? So it's beautiful. You don't have to ask her to do anything or right? But when that happens, and as a broker, when you set that up, there's options in there, right? For that to give the driver control over whether it's on or off or whatever it is. And actually, in the one option, I think, and most people go with it, and maybe the only one, somebody's got to correct me here because I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it is where after whatever the load's closed out, like an hour after that load gets closed out the TMS, because again, it's connected to MacPoint, it stops pinging, right? And so that's something that is not only more efficient for a broker, but also better for a driver. But how many drivers know that? That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like how do we get it to where they understand? Because all you're doing is you're going to these guys that, and the hard part is this, is you got people like Ingrid and, Dan and those guys out there, Lewis, that are good at what they do, and they don't feel as though they need tracked, right? They should feel as though they need tracked. However, it's something that, the track and trace team just know, like, we have to do it, right? Because we've been burned on so many loads, and like, we have to do it, right? So
that's the problem.
Right. And so how are you, educating these people and making sure these people understand it? Because if not, it's just people that are getting these apps and like, why do I have to download another app? Why are they tracking my phone? Or, I hear that all the time. Like, I ain't doing no tracking apps because the government's going to know where I'm at. I used to tell them, like, dude, they already got you, brother.
I was going to say, hello.
They already got you. That's right. Trump could have started his own tracking app if he wanted to. So, but
here's my thing. I've got a take on this, and I think you're both right to a degree.
Yeah.
And here's the answer. The answer is, those little RFID tags that you can get. We use a big national leasing company for a lot of our trucks and trailers, and they have built-in equipment with tracking in it. Mm-hmm. They can find our stuff.
Right. Trailer track.
Right.
Why track we have it here too. We have it here too.
Everybody's happy.
Yep,
exactly.
Absolutely.
With my customers, I've got big dedicated customer. I have it set up where my carriers have to ping them. They have to, not the track and trace team. They have to ping them at 9 and 4 o'clock every single day. If they don't get that update, then they'll reach out to them. Otherwise, they leave them alone. Mm-hmm. Every single carrier that I got it in there, and it's working like gold. There's
drivers don't mind that. It's when it becomes just obsessive, or when you have 25 that are doing it that don't know what the other 24 did, or and like I know it's like literally 17 minutes between phone calls, and it's coming, and it's like, hello, I need to check your location, and it's like, oh, I'm not sure. I'll have to call you back, and I hang up on them, and then it's like I get another one, and I'm like,
And the key there on the broker side is that like technology has made things easier, right? It's made things more integrated, right? So I've sat in these meetings, right? You know, we sit there, you know, and as executives, you make these decisions and you sign up with them, right? You're doing all this stuff, but does that get passed down? And that's the biggest thing I think that, you know, hey, we're going to be more efficient, right? We want, you know, to get the most out of our employees. And especially, you know, I will say in the last couple of years, especially when hiring was hard, you know, it was hard to get people, you know, you wanted to get the most out of each one of them, right? So you're more efficient. But like, once you make those decisions, yes, it made your life easier a little bit, but there's always that initial follow through that you got to put the work in still, as in, hey, this is what we have now. And we got to get that to our track and trace team, right? And if we want things integrated in our TMS, then we have to have an option in our TMS for somebody to put in there, hey, do not call driver from this time to this time or whatever it is. Because, you know, I always feel sorry for those track and trace people, man. They're in there. A lot of times they're entry level and they're trying to cover their ass because they don't track load. They're in huge trouble, right? Because it was their fault. But like, so they're like calling and then like, and I've sat and talked to them and they're like, man, I hate this. Like drivers hate me. Like I'm trying to, I don't even know what to do. Like I just see it and they didn't put any notes in the load. So I call the guy and he just bitched me out for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, all I was trying to do is do my job. And it's like, you know, that comes down to but that's the gap, right? I mean, that's the gap that you leave if you don't
huge gap
follow through on being thorough, because you're going to piss your carriers off and your drivers off. You're going to piss your own people off because you got more efficient. But
you can't win for losing. I mean, I'm laughing because it's sad. It really is. I mean, these people need a job and they want a job and they want to get in the industry, and that's usually where they get stuck first.
Yep.
And I'm like, if that's where I had gotten stuck first in this industry, I would have said, I mean, I would have given you the bird and I'd have been gone. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just like Jeff said, all you have to do is lay this out in the beginning.
Yes.
Give me a 9 a.m. and a 4 p.m. check-in. That's it. You do that. You're holding up your end of the deal. I'm doing my end of the deal. Anything that anybody needs other than that can just wait.
Yeah, and it's right here. You know, it's lack of training in the industry, and it's also giving options to people. Like, can you give your options to rank people? Like I said, can you rank carriers so that you know this one's a little bit more on high alert? Keep an eye on this one, right? Can you mark loads yellow, red, or green, right? Can you mark them more of like what they, you know, are you getting a to-do list or a follow-up list for your track and trace team beforehand? And what really made us better at track and trace was not putting the new people there anymore, but actually advertising that job, paying more, right? Pay more. And, you know, it's hard when you're first starting up as a broker, but God, we were pinching pennies like a son of a bitch. And I told him, I said, if we don't start paying these positions, we're going to get bottom of the barrel. We're going to get what we pay for. And we're going to hire people in and put them in there. But if we say, hey, this is a third shift track and trace job, literally advertised as it, right? At this salary, you come in, potential to become a manager over here, potentially become, you know, make your own processes. We're growing, whatever it is, you know, like people will take that on. And those people tend to be a lot better. And, you know, a lot more thorough, and some of them stayed in it because they liked it, and then being the manager of it or whatever it was because they liked it and they built those relationships with drivers. So now they're walking around during the track and trace team and say the track and trace guy's dealing with a driver, and they come over and say, hey, here's what you do, or they get on the phone, they talk to them, or whatever. You've got that now, but you got to build that out. If you put those entry level people in there and they're just calling and calling, eventually Ingrid's going to be like, God damn it, leave me alone. You know,
block. I do have a question. Yeah, that's it. You're cut off. I do have a question. So, are any of y'all also using? Oh my, this is not looking good.
Uh-oh.
Little backed up.
What in the world? Oh my God!
Hey, he's about to run over. I mean, I guess I'm glad the guy got a cattle catcher, but I don't think Florida Beauty is going to be catching his cattle. But anyway,
Anna, you got to pick me up and I'll ride with you for a day, and let's make like.
I know. Yeah. Oh, we've discussed that. Okay, but do you? All right. I've as big as McLeod is. Okay, we know McLeod and TMS and them, as huge as their software is, and how it integrates so well with all the EOD now. Is going in, and I think, is it Trucker Tools that's doing it, where they're going into and you're going to hit that truck?
I just heard that.
No, the guy hit the bump just there, and I don't know what he's doing now. He didn't get him, but I don't know how he didn't get him. Holy moly! I feel like I feel like I'm in the Daytona 500, but I'm the Skittles going around in a toilet bowl.
Hey, if
Hey,
you
you want to move your truck?
I wish I could, but I'm locked in the dock. I'm almost unloaded. But is that tracking through an EOD on the truck? Yo, dude.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Yeah, don't hit it. Your blue and my coral will not look good together. Anyway, tracking through EODs is something because it stays in the truck. I run, my tablets in the truck. It stays in the truck, attached to the truck, all the good stuff in the truck. Are any of y'all doing any of that type of integration and running any of that? And are you finding that it works and it works for you? And is that something that y'all use at all?
So since you are hauling all my dray loads, all we do on our fleet is the other stuff. And our fleet, we have GPS and cameras in there, and we're not staring at the driver. I can't hear him. I don't want to see him. He said just every time when I go off duty, he says, I'm stripping down. And I said, Bill, we'll call him Bill for lack of an alternative because that's his name. I said, Bill, I'm not looking at that. I can't see it. I showed him. I brought him in there and I made him see what I can see. It takes a still photograph every so many minutes facing out. And that's it. And then I can see where he's at, and it's connected to the black box. So I can see his fuel level. I can see engine error codes. I can see all that stuff. I don't need to see that because this guy's been driving since 1980. He doesn't need my help. I just want to know where he's at. That's it. Right. When are you going to be back with the wrecks I need to keep the line running? I don't have to call him.
And he works for you, and he works for you, right? But when you as a broker, when you bring these guys on, yes, I like I said earlier, the ELD integration is key because I think it really is because again, it's more efficient, it's easier, right? Just put the truck number, right? I already have, but you got to go through the process of getting that set up. I think a lot of people are getting to that point. There's times literally where people will get that set up and they're paying for it and they don't even use it, or they don't even communicate it to the carrier sales reps that you can actually do it. So it's like, make sure you follow through on that. However, people talk about trailer tracking right now. I don't know for sure, and I can't confirm this or not, but I know we used to sometimes be able to get Skybits tracking from carriers if our customer required it, or they have those little tracking that came with the freight. The problem is that you run into, why I liked having the truck was, you got a lot of carriers that'll pick a load up and go drop it, right, and then move on, and then another driver gets on it, right, and then if that driver gets on it, now you don't have its truck number. You may have the trailer, right, and you know where it's at, but you don't even know who the new driver is. You can't get a hold of him, right? And so like it's a little bit, and they could be double broker, it could put another different carrier on, whatever. So like I think there's ways to get both, and a lot of people will just go ahead and volunteer up their Skybits tracking on their trailer to you, and you can put that link into the load then, right? So now as your track and trace team is checking on it, they can just click that link and see it. There's ways to do that, but it's important. That's the biggest thing I think this whole conversation is about. It's important. So, and the follow through and the thoroughness of it is important. So it's not just something you do. It's not just something you have going. You don't just slap a track and trace team together and then try and go out and sell that, hey, we have a track and trace team. Make sure they're trained. Make sure they're good. Make sure they're paid. Make sure they understand and make sure they have information, right?
Make sure they're efficient.
As an account manager or carrier sales rep or ops manager, whatever it is, make sure your carriers are aware of your processes. Make sure they understand what your processes are. Because when you have those
with them
up front, when you have those conversations up front, you allow that driver then to ask those questions, to come up with, hey, I don't do this, or I couldn't do this. And now you can make an exception. It's hard to make an exception after the fact, right? But right. I will say, I think it comes down to, if you're dealing with a carrier, right, get on the phone with the ops manager. The dispatchers could give two shits a lot of times. Get on the phone with the ops manager. That way they know anytime you deal with this company, this is what they deal with. If you get on the phone with an owner operator like Ingrid Brown, make sure that you get on the phone and you talk to her and say, hey, if you're going to run for us, this is what we do. This is just kind of our process. Is there anything that you need? It takes time. It takes more effort. But the only people in this industry, the people that are good, put more effort in. And if you don't do it, you're just not going to be as good.
Right. And I'll say this is that, just like today, and I love you guys for having me on here. It's not a bitch session. This is there are issues, but my biggest thing I did my whole life, and I live by this, is there is a solution to every problem. There's
Absolutely.
a positive to every negative. You just might have to put some work in it to find it out or to fix it.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. We're all humans, and we're all going to find the problems in this, and that, and the other. And you've heard me say, like, the $200 deal. I told TJ that day, I said, no, what somebody doesn't understand is if it was left, if the drivers could do it, I would be telling you, you pay me $200 because it's my equipment, it's my phone bill, it's my data that you're burning and using. You pay me, and I'm the one that's doing the work to provide you the updates. Don't charge me $200 because you say I didn't download your junk. But what I'm saying is there's a solution to everything we've talked about and everything that there's a problem out there. It's just right now, this is exactly how it's done. You, and you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But this is how this works, is you get, thank you. I love you, Tony. Is you get, there you go. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. No. Yeah, there. Anyway, you get minds together and you listen, because just like TJ just said, he gave me wonderful points when I was addressing this that day.
You gave me great points. I remember going back and having a conversation afterwards and was like, hey, there was things that I was like, I didn't think about this, or I didn't think about that.
Yeah. It's and again, it's being that openness and being able to adapt to it. There's still some things that are still there with it, but I don't know what I would do as a driver. I know it was a lot harder before you guys and people before you came into my life and came into my career and came into my success.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have anything to do with that. That was you.
Yes, he did. Now, hey, it takes everybody. I couldn't do it by myself. But I do. I look at myself in the mirror and I say, I am successful. Mm-hmm. I have been blessed with more than I could ever really than I deserve. And if I don't adapt, and I hadn't adapted, I wouldn't be the person I am, but I wouldn't have life in this industry like I have it. Mm-hmm. How I got here, I have no idea. I could not start to tell you how I am where I am. How I've gotten through. That's it. I'm blessed. I'm blessed beyond measure. Of I go by the Petro in Oklahoma City and still go, is that really my name?
That is so cool.
Can I take a picture again? Or I just did another article, or I do, it's like meeting y'all. You guys asked me to be on here today. This is just, you don't understand how humbling and what an honor this kind of thing is. So you guys understand what you give and what the things like talking about logbooks and talking about tracking and talking about dispatchers and talking about freight and all this. It's education to me. Mm-hmm. It's education to everybody. But if you don't do this and continue to do this, there's a lot of people that's not going to be reached and touched, and they're not going to be as successful because they don't have what you're given. And I didn't want to hang up without saying all that.
We're 3 minutes over here, but I want to touch on, and like, I love what you said. There's problems to be solved, right? And so, if you want to be good, you got to solve them, no matter who you are, whatever seat you're sitting in. But it's okay to bitch still. And I'm gonna end it on this. I've always said this. I've worked with a ton of drivers, dispatching, overseeing a fleet, all this, even on the brokerage side. Drivers are gonna bitch. It just is what it is. If you were out on the road and you were dealing with the shit, look at what Ingrid has dealt with, right? You're dealing with the shit they're dealing with, and some of the stuff they got to go to some of these receivers. There's unions, there's all these shit that they got to deal with. They're gonna bitch. But the best drivers, they'll bitch, but they'll do it after the fact, after it's solved. The best drivers are the ones that call me and go, hey man, hey, how'd it go? How'd that load go? Fucking hell, man. I tell you what, that son of a bitch, I pulled in there and this happened, but I got out and I told the fucker, hey, do this, got it figured out. So I'm on load, I'm good to go, but God damn it. So he's bitching, but he fucking figured it out, right?
Yeah.
It's bad drivers that call you and go, hey, I'm here. I don't really know where to go. Is there a guard shack? Yeah, well, go there. You know what I mean? Like, get out of the truck. You know what I mean? Like, there's pitching is going to happen, but like the good ones, like if you solve a problem, you call me, you bitch to me for half an hour. I don't care. You got my freight ready. I'll listen to you all day long. Let it out. Let it out.
Is there a door next to the truck dock? Yes.
Right.
Okay, go in there and somebody will help you.
But that's the thing, though. These issues can be frustrating. These issues can be hard. But if you're not willing, if you're going to avoid them, you just won't make it. Well, you may make it, but you're not going to become better. You're not going to get to where Ingrid is. And Ingrid, that's why you got to where you are, because you continually wanted to get better. And that's why sometimes you think, I don't know how I got here. It's because you didn't stop moving forward.
Right.
I always
say, never stop. Yeah.
I always say the logistics, this industry is like it's like going into a dark tunnel, right? And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? But you're in this tunnel blindfolded. So you're going to bump into shit and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if you just keep moving forward, like you'll continue to get better and better and better. It's hard to sometimes see that end goal of it, but like it happens.
You'll realize that's not a train coming at you. It's actually the sunshine at the other end.
Yeah, you know what? You're your own worst enemy. That's what it comes down to. You have nobody else to blame except yourself. No one.
And you don't understand how many people don't do it. And that gives you an advantage. You could come in here without a degree. You could come in here with nothing but hard work. And I'm telling you, you'll find it. Listen, I'm from Auburn. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a secretary. I mean, I halfway, a couple of years ago, I remember thinking like, there's no way I should be in this where I'm at right now. Like, how did I even get it? Like you said, it's unbelievable to me, but I just came in and worked my ass off. And it's like a cross country race. You all leave, in a big group, but by the end, everybody's kind of separated. People start falling off because they question themselves and they think the grass is greener and they don't put the work in. Just keep pushing forward if you stick with it, man, especially now in this market. Stick with it, keep getting better, be willing to learn. You'll meet people like Ingrid, you'll meet people like Jeff, and then you'll meet, well, hopefully you don't meet people like Tony, but if you do, just make sure he's happy and he may be able to take care of you. So
that's it, man. You do it right, you'll love this industry. There's nothing better than it.
That's all right, guys. Thank you, Ingrid.
Hold on. Hey,
I love you guys. Oh,
thanks, Ingrid, for coming on. I took my kid to work the other day. He had a day off in school, and he said, Dad, what's a forklift? And I said, usually food.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
All right.
Oh, man. End the show.
Okay. I apologize on the
Thanks, Ingrid.
bye, guys. We do it again soon. See ya. Wah, wah.